Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session today. Hope you all can hear me. Can you guys confirm once?
Sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks for confirming. So we are going to start with one more framework that is Apache Beam, and we are going to run those jobs on the data flow. For example, if you guys remember in the data proc what we have done. So let me gonna increase the screen. So if you remember, guys, look at this one. In the data proc, we are going to create the Spark pipelines. Right, Spark means we are using the PySpark. Spark with Python we have used, and we have a source, and we are reading the data from the source, and we have created a data frame one, and we applied the transformations, and we have created a data frame two, and we applied the transformations. Again, created a data frame three. Finally, this data frame we have loaded to the destination. Right. So this is how a simple data proc pipeline looks like. Right, in the data proc, we have created a Spark pipelines. So what is Spark, guys? Spark is one of the programming model. Here we can use Python, Java, Go, or any of these languages we can use with Spark, because Spark is a programming framework. So with the help of the programming framework, if you wanted to do any kind of a data processing, you need to use the programming languages. Then you create a Spark pipelines. Those Spark pipelines, you have submitted it to the data proc, and data proc is a fully managed service, can be used for the big data processing. Okay, so this is what is the Spark is. So Spark is one of the framework for big data processing. Similarly, sir, do we have any kind of a programming framework available for the big data processing? If you ask me, that is what I call as a Beam programming model. So that is one more programming framework. What is one more programming framework which is extensively used? If you ask me, so that is Beam programming model. Okay, so let us try to see what is Beam, what is Apache Beam. Sir, Apache Beam, we usually call it as, it is a programming model, unified programming model for defining both batch and streaming parallel processing pipelines that can be built portable big data pipelines. Okay, it is a unified programming model for defining the both batch and streaming parallel processing pipelines. I would say, I'll remove this one, sir. Streaming data pipelines. So it is unified API to process the both batch and streaming data. The beam name comes from the B from the batch, EAM from the stream. So that is how the beam name was coined. So these pipelines are portable. It's because if you have written a beam pipeline once, created in any language, so can be able to run on any of the execution frameworks. Okay, so look at here. So Beam support these many languages: Java, Python, Go. So Beam pipeline can be created in any language. When I say any language, Java, Python, Go can be able to run on the any of the execution engines. I would say, instead of frameworks, I would say engines. So those engines are Spark, or Flink, or Apex, or Google Data Flow, or Samza. Okay, Google Data Flow or Samza. So that is how the Apache Beam programming models are. In Google Cloud Platform, if I wanted to work with the Apache Beam, we have the Google Data Flow. What is Google Data Flow, sir, now? A Google Data Flow or a data flow or a cloud data flow is one of the execution engine for running the Apache Beam pipelines. So what is the Apache Beam pipeline looks like? Apache Beam pipeline will be, we are writing the Apache Beam pipeline with a Beam framework with any of the programming languages such as Java or Python or Go. Okay, you can write any of these things. Okay, so you can see here it is a unified programming model for defining the both batch and streaming data pipelines. So unified API to process the batch and streaming data. So I would just remove this point. Sorry. So Beam name comes from the B from the batch, EAM from the stream. Usually Beam pipelines are portable, sir. The Beam pipelines portable means we can able to move it here and there. Why we call it as a portable? It's because if you are writing your Beam pipeline or if you are creating a Beam pipeline, that can be running on any of the execution engine, because Beam pipelines can support or can run on any of these execution engines. So that's the reason it is called as a portable. Can be moved anywhere. Okay, so that is how Beam is a programming model, whereas Flink, Dataflow, Spark are the execution engines. Okay, so this is how the Apache Beams are. Apache Beam is a very simple if you wanted to understand. Sir, Apache Beam. So we have a programming frameworks, right? So here you can see we have a programming frameworks. So one is Spark, which is commonly used for the big data processing, big data pipelines. Okay, big data processing or big data pipelines. Similarly, we have a one more framework, that is Beam, which is also used for big data processing. Okay, so this is how these are the two frameworks, guys. So Spark supports Python, Java, R. Similarly, Beam also supports Python, Java, R. So these are the programming languages supports it. So this is how the programming framework. So when you are using the Beam with any of these languages, you call it as a Spark pipeline. Spark programming framework with any of these programming languages, you call it as a Spark pipeline. Similarly, Beam with any of these languages, you call it as a Beam pipeline. So this is how, whenever you wanted to create a Beam pipelines or Spark pipelines, this is how you are going to create it. Sir, Spark pipelines are going to run on where, sir? So we are running the Spark pipelines on the Dataproc. Okay, Dataproc comes up with the pre-installed Spark engine. So that's the reason we are we are running the Spark pipelines on the Dataproc. Similarly, Beam pipelines, where it is going to run, sir? Can anyone tell me? Can you guys tell me?
Data flow.
So the yes, so the Beam pipelines are going to run on the data flow. So this is how the data proc and data flow, and one of the important service in the Google Cloud platform, that is data flow, sir. One more important service that we have seen in our previous session, that was data proc. Okay, so in a simple words, if I have to tell you, you guys can look at it here. What is data flow? Okay, sir, unified streaming and batch data processing that is serverless, fast, and cost effective. Sir, it is a serverless. When I am saying the serverless, I wanted to compare it with the data proc. Sir, tell me, in the data proc, are we creating any server?
Yes, we are creating cluster.
Correct. So we are creating the cluster, that is nothing but a server. So that's the reason data proc is a managed service. But in the data flow, you don't need to create any server. No server requirement is there. Need not to create any server because it is a serverless. Okay, so that is how. So cloud data flow is a unified batch and streaming processing, which is serverless, fast, and cost effective. Cost effective it is because you are not maintaining the cluster. because in the data proc, as soon as you create the cluster, the cost will be associated. But for the data flow, you are not creating any cluster, so the cost will be only be incurred whenever you are running the pipeline. Okay, so that is how it is. It allows you to develop and execute the data processing pipelines using the Apache Beam. So whatever the Apache Beam pipelines that you are creating, so the data flow will enable you to execute those pipelines in here in the data flow. Sir, how the resources will be created then? Because it is a serverless, automated provisioning and management of processing resources. The resources will be automatically provisioned, guys. We don't need to create any kind of a cluster or any kind of a infrastructure creation. So it's because cloud data flow is a serverless, automatic provisioning of resources will happen in the backend. And those resources can scale up horizontally according to your resource requirement. Okay, so according to the resource requirement or according to your job or data processing requirement, the resources will be automatically scalable and it is horizontally scalable, so that you can increase, I mean, according to your job, these machines can be scaled up even for thousands or, I mean, even for tens, hundreds also. So that is how the horizontal scaling works. So whatever the resources that is required, it is automatically provisioned and those resources are horizontally scalable in the backend. So that is how the cloud data flow works. Okay, so the cloud data flow is a unified streaming and batch data processing, which is serverless, fast, and cost effective. It allows you to develop and execute the data processing pipelines using the Apache Beam, automated provisioning and management of resources, horizontal auto scaling is there. Okay, so this is how the cloud data flow works. Any questions, anyone? Do we have any questions, guys?
Sir, horizontal auto scaling means it's
Horizontal auto scaling
hardware.
is means, for example, there are two types of scalable, sir. One is vertical scaling, horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling, in the vertical scaling, you are going to increase the power. So for example, you have a machine, you are going to increase the power of that machine. That is what we call as a vertical scaling. Okay, for example, you have a 100 GB here. So you wanted to make it 200 GB. You made it 200 GB. Okay, you are vertically increasing. So what it means is that you are increasing the power. You are not going to add a one more storage device. You are increasing the power of the existing one. Okay, but in the horizontal scaling, what happens is that, so you have here 100 GB, you want to 200 GB, so you add one more 100 GB, one more node, one more node. So this is what we call as a horizontally increasing. In a vertical increasing, so whatever you have the existing ones, you are going to replace it with the new ones. Okay, here it is more of a replacement. Here we are going to add one more. Okay, so that is how the horizontal scaling and vertical scaling works. In horizontal scaling, you are going to keep on adding the new machines or new nodes or new storage devices, so that it is storage scalable and whatever we call it as a machine scalable or node scalable. Okay, so that is how it works.
But this is data flow is a serverless, right, sir? Like how
It's
we are
serverless.
increasing, but
So
how
we
are
are
we
not doing
increasing those
anything. We are
machines?
not doing anything. So as per your requirement, for example, you want 100 GB of the data processing today. In the back end, it will be automatically provisioning the resources. But you, because automatically it is provisioning the resources, but you would like to know that how it is going to provisioning, because my job is very good. My job is very high in terms of the data processing. But you wanted to get the confidence that what kind of a resources, how the resources it is going to provision. But what that is what the data flow says is that you don't need to worry about the resources, because I am going to be horizontally scalable. Okay, I'm going to be horizontally scalable in the backend. So whatever the resource requirement is there, It is going to be horizontally scalable so that you don't need to worry about any kind of a resource hunch. So that is how it is.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. So today it is 100 GB. Tomorrow you have given 200 GB of the data processing. So the amount of, for example, it is earlier 3 machines. Now according to the job, it requires 5 machines. So that's how these machines are. First one, it is going to be added. Next one more one, one more one more one more. So for your job to be completed, it has provisioned five resources so that your job can be completed easily within the elapsed time. Okay, so that is how it works. Any other questions?
Which one is recommended, sir, here?
So it depends on the requirement, guys. So you want the Spark Touch, you go for the data prop. So there are most of the times people request the Spark pipelines to be created. You go for the data prop. No. I wanted to. I'm not looking for something which is already Spark. I am looking for a new framework. You go for the Beam, and which is a data flow is a serverless. And again depends on this one also. You wanted to manage your own cluster, go for the data prop. You don't want to manage the cluster, you go for the data flow. And one more thing is that, so it typically depends. Sir, I wanted to go for big data analytics. Analytics, mainly if you wanted to focus on the heavy processing of big data. In that case, I suggest you to go for the Spark. No, sir. I am having the data movement. I wanted to move it between the platforms. Okay, my main intention is that migrating the data, or my main intention is that moving the data, creating the pipelines and moving the data between the platforms. I suggest you to go for the Beam. Okay, so that's how it works. Heavy processing, if you wanted to go for Spark, is extensive, very famous for the big data processing. Okay, heavy processing, if you wanted to go for the Spark, it's very good. But the Beam supports also heavy processing. But the thing is that if you wanted to move the data between the platforms, or I have a data here at the source, I wanted to move it to the destination, I wanted to do the transformations, many minimal transformations, and I don't want it to create any kind of infrastructure. In that case, go for the Beam. Okay. Any question, guys?
But in the bean, always it will takes vertical scaling, right?
Beam, it is horizontal scalable. That is what I told you. Beam is horizontal. See, anyway, most of the big data things are horizontal scalable, sir. So I don't need to actually mention it here. Horizontal scalable, even the Spark are. Because if it is how vertical scalable, guys, try to understand in the vertical scalable, you cannot provision the resources faster. Okay, vertical scalable is not recommended. Okay, vertical scalable is not going to be fulfilling the resource hunch. It's because whenever you are using a big data processing, vertical scalable is not recommended, and it is not going to be provision the resources faster. But when you go for the horizontal scalable, the resources can be created in next second, next minute itself, as per the requirement of the job. So that is how most of the big data, you go for most of the big data processing. Wherever you see a big data, the big data, you will be able to see that it is horizontally scalable. That particular tool is horizontally scalable. Okay, in the big data world, horizontal scalability is must. Okay, earlier we used to see the vertical scaling machines for the traditional systems. Nowadays, everything is horizontal scalable. Even BigQuery horizontal scalable. Okay.
Even normal web applications also will follow horizontal scaling, right?
Most
Java,
of
.NET.
most of the applications are horizontally scalable. Whenever you need a one more storage, even it, when I say horizontal scalable, it can be a storage, it could be a CPU, it could be a RAM, it could be an entire machine. Nothing but you call it as a node. So this is how horizontal storage. When in terms of a storage, it is horizontally scalable. In terms of CPU also, in terms of RAM, or in terms of entire node. So these are the things are horizontally. So when you need a one more storage device, you're gonna be adding one more. Keep on adding the one more. CPU also keep on adding. RAM also keep on adding. An entire machine also keep on adding. So that your requirement will be fulfilled. So this is how it is. Yeah.
Horizontal scaling is a single machine or multiple machines, sir?
Multiple machines are going to be working behind this thing.
Okay.
Okay, so this is how it is, guys. So in a simple words, we have to talk about, if you ask me, sir, Spark is a programming model. We are creating the Spark pipeline with multiple programming languages that are submitted to the data proc for the big data processing purpose. Similarly, Beam is also a programming model, can be created the Beam pipelines with any of these programming languages, can be submitted to the data flow, which is serverless, can also be used for the big data processing. Okay, so that is how it is, sir. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that, sir, let us try to do one kind of a pipeline. Let us try to create an end-to-end pipeline, a basic pipeline that we are going to create it. Very commonly used use case, which we are going to use is the commonly used one. So if you are working in a Google Cloud platform, sir, I wanted to create a data flow pipeline. So there are two ways of creating the data flow pipeline. One is template method. One more is custom code also we can write, because it is also programming framework. You can also create the programming framework. This is a custom code. So from the scratch, you can create a code. So that code is, you call it as a pipeline, Beam pipeline code. Okay. Similarly, a template, which is you don't need to worry about it. Actually, data flow supports the templates. Okay, data flow supports the templates. You can actually use these templates commonly most of the times. 40 to 50 to 60% of the times people using the templates only, and 30 to 40 to 50% of the times they will be using the custom code. So the templates are, let me gonna show you. So when you come to the data flow, this is how the interface for the data flow looks like, guys. So if you wanted to create the custom pipelines from the template, you can see here, create a job from the template. Just click on it here. So this is how you have a plenty of templates already available, sir. So the main intention is that, so for example, sir, I wanted to move the data from the cloud spanner to the PubSub, or data stream to the BigQuery, Kafka to the BigQuery, PubSub to the BigQuery, or you see here plenty of the things, text files and cloud storage to the BigQuery, and BigQuery to the MongoDB, MongoDB to the Bigtable. All of these pipelines are already there. Okay, so these pipelines are already there that you can actually use it for your own requirement. Okay, sir, I have a data that is there in some platform. I wanted to move the data to the some other platform, and data flow is commonly used for that use case. Okay, so one of the common use case that we are going to see is that CSV files. Okay, let me show you. So if you can also see here two things. If you wanted to create a streaming pipelines also, you have a streaming pipelines here. These are all streaming templates. And here you have a batch templates also available. So anything is possible here, guys. So that is how data flow is very famous. So in the data flow, you don't need to write code. There are two ways of creating the pipelines. One is templates. So for the template, you don't need to create any code. You just provide the parameters. I will show you how to provide the parameters. The required parameters, you are going to provide it. That's it. So that the pipeline will be automatically created in the back end and it will be running. I will show you. And the second thing is that custom code. So you need to create a code what you wanted to do. So we have to create the code from the scratch. So according to your requirement, if your requirement is not fulfilled by the templates, then you go for the custom code. Okay, sir, I have a typical requirement which is not available in the templates. So I go for the custom code and you create the code from the scratch. Okay, so these are the two methods. Today we are going to see, okay, this is commonly used. So today I'm going to take a one use case and I'm going to move the data between the two platforms, which is very commonly used use case. Okay, so
Sir,
these are the two ways that you can able to create the pipelines. Yes.
custom code should be written in Python or any other language, or
You
it's
can,
be
as I told
specific?
you, if you guys remember, as I told you, custom code. So if you wanted to create a Beam program, Beam pipeline can be created in any language. Nothing but Beam with any of these languages. Okay, Beam with Python, Beam with Java, Beam with Go. Okay. any language. So now let us focus on this one, guys. So in the advanced batch, we are going to cover these things. Okay. So, but let us try to focus on this is commonly used. Let me take a use case and let me try to tell you how we are going to take it up. Okay. So we are going to do the template method of moving the data. So in the template method also we have it here. We are going to move the data from the cloud storage to the BigQuery. Look at here. So template method, we are going to talk about it. So I wanted to move the data from the cloud storage to the BigQuery, sir. Sir, I have a CSV file in the cloud storage. Assume that this is your cloud storage bucket. So this is GCS bucket. So in the GCS, you have one of the file that is some CSV file you have, sales.csv. You have some CSV file. Okay, assume that you have a sales.csv file. And you wanted to create this as a table in the BigQuery every day. So whenever it is running, the pipeline has to append the data. So this is, you wanted to create it as a sales table. You wanted to create it as a sales table in the BigQuery. Okay, so this is what is your requirement. Whatever the file it is, it can be. Whatever the file it can be. But I wanted to read the data from the GCS bucket and move the data to the BigQuery as a table. So for that one, commonly used tool is DataFlow. Okay, you can use DataFlow for that. So now we are going to use, for creating this pipeline, we are going to use the template method. Okay, so now let us try to see this action. Okay, let me go to the data flow. So if you wanted to create a custom template, if you wanted to create a job from the template, create job from template. You can click on this one. Provide some job name, sir, whatever the job name you wanted to give. Sir, I wanted to move the data from the GCS to the BQ job 1. Okay, this is my job name I have given, GCS to the BigQuery. You can select the regional endpoint, any kind of a regional endpoint you can select it. I am selecting the regional endpoint is US Central 1. And let me also open the Google Cloud Storage. And let me also open the BigQuery also. So because our source is cloud storage, our destination is BigQuery. Source, let me go to any of the bucket here. So let me see if I have a CSV file. Sir, look at here. I have some CSV file called sales.csv. Any table you can take, I'm taking this sales.csv. Let me remove if it has any kind of retention policies. Okay, yeah. Look at here, guys. So I have here sales.csv. I wanted to move this to the BigQuery dataset. Any dataset we can take. 1 minute. They have added one canvas. Okay. Let me look at it later. Yeah. So we wanted to move it to the dataset called inside dataset. Okay. I wanted to move it to this particular dataset, sir. So the table has to be created under this particular dataset. So this is what we wanted to do. The sales table has to be created under this one. Okay. So if I wanted to create a table, there are two things. So we are going to do at this stage in the BigQuery, we are going to create two tables. First, we need to create an empty tables. Okay, sales error table also. If any error also happening, we want that error to be noted into the one particular table, that is error table. Okay, so these are the two tables that we are having. The good records will go to the sales table. The bad records will be properly tracked with the help of the error table. So these are the two tables that we will be having. Okay, so let me gonna show you first the sales.csv, how it looks like. And we need to create the schema for that. We need to create the schema also for that. Schema.json file. We are going to create a schema as a JSON format. So these are the two things that we needed. At the source end, we need the sales.csv, that is your source file, and we need to create the schema for that particular file. And similarly, we are going to create two empty tables at the destination, that is sales table, and sales error table. So these empty tables will be filled up with the data whenever this pipeline is running. Okay, so these are the two things that we need to do. First, I'll go to the source. So what I will do, I will go here. So what I will try to do is that, sir, first I'll try to create a folder here. So to avoid the confusion, I'll try to create a folder here. So template one. So for the template, I wanted to create some folders. Where is that folder? Yeah, here it is. I'm going inside the folder. You look at here, guys. So I'm going to upload the files here. So here I have the sales.csv and schema.json. I will show you both. Okay, so look at here. So this is our sales.csv, sir. In this one, we have 4 columns. One is date column, city column, product column, and sales column. So this is a sales.csv. It is a comma separated file. We have total 4 columns are there. So this is the data. This is your source data. And you need to create a schema for this one. Creating a schema is also very easy. You can follow this format. So if you wanted to see the sales schema also, let me gonna show you. So this is how the schema looks like, guys, because we are creating the schema for the BigQuery. So the BigQuery schema follows this format. In the enclosed brackets, this is main thing. So whenever you wanted to add a column, you come here and you add it. Name of the column, date column. Name of the column, city column. Product column, and the data type is string. Sales column as well as integer. So this is how, if you wanted to create any columns, you can come here and you can mention comma and you can add one more thing. So you can just copy this one, right? You can just copy and one more column you wanted to add. Mention the column name and data type. Maybe if it is string, you can mention. So this is how the schema has to be created properly for anything. Okay, so this is how the BigQuery schema follows. So if you wanted to create the schema, we follow this structure. I will show you where this structure I got this from. So I will show you that also. Okay, now let us get into the BigQuery now. So now we have both of these things ready. I have the sales.csv ready, and I also have the schema.json file. Now we will go to the BigQuery end, and we will try to create an empty table for the sales table as well as sales error table also. These empty tables we are creating. We are not creating any tables. We are now just creating the empty tables only. Let me gonna go here to the BigQuery, and under this data set, look at here, guys. Click on these 3 dots. Click on create table. First table, empty table only we are creating. The table name I would say sales table. Sales table I am creating. And click on create table. That's it. You don't need to provide anything. The schema, data, everything will be created from the sales table. Look at here. So it does not have anything. Even though it does not have the schema, it does not have the data, nothing is there here. You see everything is 0. So because this schema as well as the data, everything will be loaded from the BigQuery, Google Cloud Storage bucket only via data flow. Similarly, I wanted to create one more table. I'm creating the sales error table. Okay, so this is what is one more table I'm creating, sales error table. So to pick the errors, if it is having any errors, it is going to be tracking down the errors in this particular table. Okay, so this is how we have created the 2 tables. One is sales table as well as error table. Both of them are completed now. Now we need to create the template. We need to create a job using the template method. So now I am going to the data flow to create the templates. Okay, so now I will go to the data flow. I have given the name called GCS BQ job 1. Select the proper regional endpoint. Okay, so select the data flow template. It is a batch. You can go here. CSV files and cloud storage to the BigQuery. You guys can see here, right? CSV files and cloud storage to the BigQuery. You can select it. So the pipeline is already there. In the backend, the code was already written. So we don't need to do anything. So already code was there. The pipeline is already there. What we have to do, sir? We have to provide the parameters only. Okay, we have to provide the required parameters. So look at here. Sir, input file it is asking. What is the input file, sir? My input file is sales.csv. Copy this one. Click on the file, copy the path. And paste here the path. Look at here. It is asking for the schema file. So JSON file with the BigQuery schema description. So that is our schema. So as I told you, I am following the schema. So this is what is the schema that I have got from. This is a sample schema that I have got it from. You look at here. I'm going to paste it here. So this is how the schema looks like. I converted that schema into this one. Okay, so this is how I converted and I have written the schema properly. So this is just providing the random column names and random data types. Okay, so what I have done is that I have properly formatted this one and I have used it for my own use case. So this is a BigQuery sample schema. You can use this sample schema to create your own schema. So you have 4 columns. So that means you removed this particular column and you have added your column names and data types properly. So that is how, if you wanted to create a schema, just follow this structure. Okay. So now let me go here. So I have already created the schema. So I'm going to click on browse. So that is there inside this bucket, I believe, inside the template. So here we have the sales schema.json. I am selecting the file. Click on select. And as I told you, BigQuery output table. This is your table for BigQuery sales table. Temporary directory, you can select any temporary bucket for the directory purpose. And output table for bad records. You guys look at it here, BigQuery output table for the bad records. So to track your bad records or error records, we have also created one more table, that is sales error table. And column delimiter. Sir, what is the column delimiter for these files? Can anyone tell me? What is the delimiter here?
CSV, comma.
Comma separated. It is a comma separated, so the delimiter becomes comma only. So I'm mentioning the comma here. And CSV format to use for parsing the records, it is default, guys, because it is a comma separated only. So sometimes it can be constant, it could be SQL, it could be the pipe symbol will be there. Sometimes it will be hash will be there. So that time you have to mention here that. So now it is a comma. So that's the reason I have mentioned here the default. Now finally the temporary location. So you can select any temporary location as a bucket location. You can select anything, just slash some temp, you can say. That's it. So this is how, these are the 2 temporary locations only, guys. This is temporary directory and this is temporary location. So look at here, input file and input schema, output file, bad records files. Output table and bad records table. These are the 2 temporary locations, and we have selected the column delimiter properly. Now one more option is also there. Sir, is your file is having the header? Is our file is having the header or not?
Yes. Yeah.
So when we have the header, we need to skip the header, right? So whenever we are loading the data, so that's the reason in the optional component, you can select the whether your file is contains a header record or not. Yes. So if it is true, you can select yes. If it is false, you don't need to select anything. Okay, by default, it is set to the false. So we need to make it true. It's because our file is having the header. So that is how, that's it. All the properties we have mentioned here. We don't need to go into the optional components. So look at all of these things and just select a run job. That's it. Okay, so this is how we are going to create a job from the template method. So whenever you wanted to create a job, these are the things. First thing, so create a cloud storage bucket and BigQuery dataset. Place the input files such as sales.csv and JSON schema in bucket, and create an empty tables in the BigQuery, and skip the header if you have. CSV format CSV and delimiter is comma, right? Delimiter is comma is equal to comma. And now we are running the data flow to read the data from the cloud storage and writing it to the BigQuery. So this is what we are doing it, sir. Okay. So now it is going to be creating the job. Now look at here, guys. So the number of workers are not created yet. It is going to be creating. If you guys have any questions, meanwhile, you can ask me. It takes like 3 minutes, guys. For this entire job to be completed, it takes 3 to 4 minutes. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me.
Sir, is this data flow is similar to Lambda in AWS or it's
No, it is
different?
not Lambda. It is a data processing tool. Lambda is similar to the cloud functions. Okay.
Functions. Okay.
So Lambda is an event based system, right? So
Yeah.
similarly, in the cloud functions is also event trigger system in Google
Okay.
Cloud Platform. So data flow is mainly for the data processing, similar to your Amazon Glue or something like that. Okay, one
Okay.
minute. Why it is failed? Flow failed. Let me gonna see is this a problem with the okay. Okay, guys. Something wrong with the zone. So there is a resource issues with the resource issues are there in that particular zone. So you do not have a resources. Okay, it is not about the code, guys. It is not about the pipeline. So there are resource hunches there in that particular. So what I will do, I'll click on this one. Sorry, I clone it. I'm going to click on clone. So while now I'm going to select instead of US Central, yes, Europe West 2. I will select Europe West 2. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to select Europe West 2 because in that particular region we do not have the resources created. So that's the reason I'm selecting this one, guys. So all other parameters are same. I'm going to click on run job. Okay. So you can go to the job now. So earlier it was failed. It's because the resources were not available in that particular region. So I'm now selected as this one. Click on this one. It will start in any minute. Yeah. Meanwhile, if anyone have any questions.
Yesterday data pipeline and today data pipeline we are calling as ETL data pipelines, right? Or is there any specific terminology to call these
You
pipelines?
can call it as a data pipeline, you call it as a ETL pipeline, anything is same. Both are same. So in a typical pipeline, you will be having a source, you will be having the data movement between the platforms. Okay. There isn't any much difference in the ETL or there isn't any much difference in the data pipelines. Usually what data pipeline refer to is that, so you will be doing the data processing there. Okay, you will be doing the data processing and converting the data into and loading the data. In the ETL, right? So it's also the same thing. You extract the data from system and you transform it and you are going to load it. Most of the times, we as a data engineer going to create the data pipelines. Data pipelines or ETL pipelines. Both are same. Okay. So these are the tools which can be used to create the data processing pipelines, or can also be used as a ETL also. Yeah.
I cannot say that data today's is uh, this one data flow pipeline and yesterday's is data pro pipeline, right?
You can say Spark. Instead of saying that, you call it as a Spark pipeline. That was a Spark pipeline. It is a Beam pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah. Instead of saying that, so data proc and data flow. 1 minute. So those are the engines. Okay. So seems like some resource hunch is happening. Not sure, guys. So some kind of a resources. Again, the same things. It's not able to create the resources. Something wrong with the resources now. Not fulfilled your request. Let me go and clone it. Okay. One more time. Let me gonna change the region. Not sure. I think it should come. I'm gonna go with the US East one. Let me take our Mumbai region. I think Singapore, Mumbai regions, southeast, southeast. Sydney, Melbourne.
Yeah, Mumbai one went up.
Yeah, Mumbai one that went up. I just wanted to go for Singapore. Yeah, here it is, southeast one. Yeah. So I'm going with the Singapore. So Singapore will have a plenty of resources, and we can select Mumbai also. That's also fine. So I'm going to clicking on run job. Not sure. So sometimes we are running with a free trial account, right? Sometimes the resources may not be available for us, but that's what happens. But for sure, we can find the proper region and we can able to do it. Let me check in my previous things. How what I have selected data flow. Select maybe for the even morning batch data flow. So here I have selected US East one. I could have selected US East one. Sorry. So let me select US East one also. I'm gonna clone it. Okay. So sometimes what happens is that we are working with the US South Carolina. So I'm gonna click on run also. This one also. Both will run. Whichever is successful, we will see. Because it's only totally related to the resources. But when you are working with the premium account, you don't find these kind of issues. Okay.
Same job can be executed 2 times.
Yeah, that's not a problem because these are different workers, right? Yeah, that's not a problem. What's wrong? It's not created. Okay, let's wait for this one to complete. But anyway, if you are going to try it out, it will work out for you. There isn't anything that we are doing it here. When it comes to this one, if the resources problem is there, we just have to clone it. Okay, let's wait. Yeah, if anyone have any questions, you can ask me, guys. Meanwhile.
Sir, while practicing, we are doing a lot of resources and everything. A lot of resources we are creating it. Is the easiest way to delete all of them at once? Like, hey, I practiced today, sort of
Delete the
resources.
project. Delete the
Delete the
project.
Okay.
Okay, you can delete the project. So if you wanted to delete the project, you come here, you click on this settings button, select that project and click on delete.
So all
Okay,
the
then
things,
if you
everything I
want
created on. Okay.
yeah, you can create a one more project. All the resources will be tagged to that project only, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That can be easily, we can do
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
Is there any easily we can able to find out the which region, resources are available or not? We can
You
first
have to go to the documentation only. It's again experience. So as per my experience, so I would say, so from my experience, I would say the data flow with the what I would say, even in the data proc also we have seen, right? So what happens is that when we are working with the template, trial account, so the resources are not highly available. They are available but not highly available. So that is the reason what happens is that whenever you're creating some cluster or some server, the resources will not be created as soon as you wanted. So that is the reason what happens in the uh, what happens in the premium accounts is that, so the resources are highly available, you can actually use it. So for now we just have to check it out, that one, this one. Most of the times for your, so because I have used this project like anything. Okay, I out of 90 days I'm left with 9 days only. That means I have used many resources. Okay, I have used many resources, so that there is also a limit on the number of resources for each project when it for the trial accounts. So there is a limit also. Okay, I might have burned out that limit also. So that is the reason I'm facing these kind of issues. But for you, you might be creating a one cluster today, some server today. So if you're creating it, as soon as you create it, it will be working out for you. Okay, there won't be any issues for you. At first 2 months or 2.5 months, you don't face any issues. When you are came to a very end, right, that means you might have exhausted all the resources. Maybe not you, but maybe me. I have used this project, I have used this account for many batches. I have created many resources for DevOps also. I have created many resources. So that is the reason I'm facing this issue. But for you, I don't think you will be facing it. Okay, you will be able to try directly run it. Any region you can select it, it will be able to run it for you.
So
Okay,
like Amazon, every region has a resource availability. It shows
correct.
in the
Similarly here
page.
also.
Doesn't have it here. in
We
GCP?
have, that's what I told you in our previous sessions. If you remember my
Yeah, yeah.
GCP locations concept, so I have
Okay.
told you about what is the region, what is the zone, how to select a region and zone. Similarly, in the AWS, how as well as Azure, you will be having a regions concept also, replication concept also. I have told you all of those things in
No,
our.
no, I'm asking about in AWS. If I go every region, it shows what is the resource available on the global resources, like each region resource availability. So does it like Google Cloud doesn't have it that functionality?
I mean, you meant to say in the UI tool here, you, it may not be available, but if you go here in the documentation,
Okay.
regions versus resources. So in Google Cloud Platform, you can go and check it out. So in the documentation, you will be able to find all the things. So global regions and general resources, you will be able to see. Okay, all the resources, how you wanted to see, it will be listed out here.
But it doesn't say it's available right now or not, correct? Like AWS,
Right
it's
now,
real time.
it is not. It is not going to be showing you. So if you
Okay.
wanted to see it, we are going to look at it each and everything. Okay, I think it shows the list also. It is not showing.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just documentation. Like, okay.
Documentation, whether that particular resource is available in that particular region or not. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Here,
Thank you.
the pipeline is ran successfully. So it has read the data from the CSV file, converted that into a row, and moved the data to the good records to the BigQuery, bad records to the error table. So let me go to the BigQuery and let me gonna see, earlier it was empty table, right? So if I'm closing here and refreshing this data set, refreshing the contents and click on the sales table, and you'll be able to see the schema. Earlier we do not have a schema. Now we have the schema, and go to records. We have the records also. And if you click on the preview, you'll be able to see the data also. Okay, so this is how data flow templates, with the help of the template, we can create an end-to-end pipelines.
Sir, one question here. Let's say in the data, source data, we have a transformation, right? So data, like so we define the schema as a date. The date
Correct.
has many formats, right? How do we control the format of the
No,
date?
we can't control the format in the BigQuery. So
Oh,
you
we can't.
follow the
Okay.
BigQuery format only. You follow the BigQuery format. BigQuery date format is something like this. So it will be year, month, and date. So it's the same
In that
thing
case,
everywhere. Yeah.
we use custom code instead of using a delivered
In
pipeline,
that
right?
case, you have to go for the string. If you are going for
Okay.
the date data type, so it
Okay.
follows the same format. If you want
Okay.
your custom format, you can go it as a string, and you can convert your date to the string, and you can do anything you want it. Okay.
Understood. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Okay, guys. So this is it, guys. If anyone have any questions, you can ask me. So this is a one-time job. This is a batch job. So that's the reason you don't need to worry about. You don't need to cancel it. Okay, it is successful. That's it. Okay. So when you are running the streaming jobs, what happens is that the streaming job will be continuous. So that's the reason you have to stop it. But now it is a batch job only. So this is how it is. This is how it works. Okay. Any questions?
Uh, it has taken horizontal scaling, right? How I know that how many clusters are created, how much
Not the
RAM?
cluster. You might have seen the two worker nodes it might have created. Earlier, it was showing here because once the job is completed, all the resources will be disallocated from this particular thing. Earlier, if you might have seen here, it has created two worker nodes. Okay, you might have seen here. It was created a pool of two workers. Earlier, it was created. Now it is not showing. So you should be able to see it here. The resource metrics and all of the details you'll be able to see it here. Okay.
Two workers meaning two machines, right? It will.
Two worker means two nodes, two machines. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
sir,
guys.
one
Yeah.
question, sir. One general question.
Yes.
So I was looking at the Google Cloud Learning subscription
Mhm.
versus the advanced course you provide. Which is better?
No, I did not get you. Sorry.
So in the Google Cloud, there is a learning subscription, which
Okay.
is it has all the documentation,
Correct.
everything, and you
Okay.
provide also as a advanced Google Cloud,
Correct. Correct.
right? So
Correct.
which one is better? Like I'm just asking generally.
Mine will be. It will be like this, guys. So if you wanted to learn, you can actually go anywhere and you can able to learn any platform. You don't need to actually attend the live sessions. You can actually go for YouTube, or if you are having such kind of a mindset. That's what I frankly say. So the thing is that in my teaching, what I'll do is like usually I'll tell one or two times and I clarify the doubts. Okay. So anything, if you have any questions. So the trend is that you are following some like online session. So what happens is that that could be already old one. It can be a older one. Now what we are going to discuss is something that we are going to create a pipeline end to end, and which in that case whatever the resources required for you. So for example, today I have created a sales data and schema. So if you need such kind of a resources also, I'm going to provide you. But the thing is that when you're going for that, they may not be able to provide you the resources which you wanted to create your end-to-end pipeline. So that is one thing. And in the live sessions, whenever you get a time, you can actually ask me all the time. But the thing is that for you in that sessions, it is one time. So they just talk like that, and you have to follow it. If you wanted to hear it one more time, you may have to just rewind it. So that is what happens. But in this one, these are the live sessions. Whenever you get a doubt, it will be clarified. We are providing you the material. We are providing you the recordings. We are also providing you the how you can create your end-to-end pipelines. So all the resources required for that.
The advanced course, do you provide lab exercise also? Let's say you give one exercise to us, or
They will provide the lab exercises because I learned from there only. Okay, I learned from
okay.
there only. I blend because whatever the course content I am preparing, so it is this because I am just a bridge between them. Okay, you have your course from the Google, so you think like this one Google documentation, and this is you. So I'm like a bridge between you guys because what happens is that you may not be able to understand this one. So some there are few people who can able to understand the documentation and they can able to create the solution. So in that for those people they can directly go for the documentation, they can understand it. But the documentation is very extensive.
Yeah,
Understanding it is takes a lot of time. So
understood,
what I
sir.
try to do is that I'm going to be already have a knowledge on it. I'm going to transferring that knowledge in a very simple language, in a very easily understandable language, and with easily clarifying all the things. So that's how I do.
And when you're
Okay.
providing the training for the advanced course, do you
Yes.
provide exercises?
Ass- Assignments. Yes. We call it
Yeah.
as assignments. Yes. I will be providing you. So each and everything, wherever you go. So for example, GCS. Sir, I wanted to see the assignment. So you will be having assignments each and everything. Okay,
Okay.
so you'll be
Understood. Yeah.
having the assignments each and everything. Even though you go for here also, so you have the assignments. And even though you go for here, assignment one. And case study two is also an assignment actually. I have created as a case study two, but I'll tell you how to do that. That is also assignment. Data pro. Assignment one, assignment two. Everywhere you will be having.
Understood.
So whenever you are having, everywhere you will be having the assignments. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you. That clears my doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you all. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thanks. You too, sir. Bye.
Yeah, last one question, sir. Hello.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
This two again requirement, right? Yesterday and today's.
As per the requirement, we have to create the pipelines. Yes.
Okay. The
So
question is.
these pipelines are always depends on the requirement, guys. So it's not that we are going to create it. So the most of the times your data will be there in the GCS only, and sometimes you wanted to do the heavy data processing and load it, and sometimes because in our upcoming sessions, actually in maybe in an advanced session, I will usually talk about the complex scenarios. For example, let me take one of the use case here, maybe case study one. So you see here the case study one. So this is actually the one of the project that I have worked for the part time for one of the company as a consultant, I would say. So this was a company that they were facing an issue. So they are having some kind of employees travel records are maintained. So for analytics purpose, they have their data in some server or a CSV files, and the files needs to be stored in the database or a data warehouse which can be used for the visualization. The current system, what they are doing is that the visualization team directly using the CSV files for creating the data pipe, for creating the data visualizations, so that means dashboards or reports, all of those things. But what happens is that the data cleaning and processing getting compromised. So that's where they have actually contacted me. They asked me to create an end-to-end PySpark pipeline which moves the data from these CSV files, some server, to the maybe any other database. So I have told him that the BigQuery is one of the solution, so you guys can use it. So they moved the data to the GCS, and they asked me to move entire data to the BigQuery. So for this purpose, they are mainly looking on this thing. So their requirement is to reduce the problem, build an ETL script in Python or PySpark. So we need to build an ETL script in Python or PySpark. So I have used the PySpark to load the data from the their source location are from the GCS. Actually, they're moving the data to the GCS. From the GCS to the BigQuery, I have moved, and for this purpose, I have used the DataProc, and inside the DataProc, we have created a PySpark job. So their requirements and guidelines are here, and their transformations are here, and I have followed all of these transformations. I have created that as a pipeline to you. I've created that as a pipeline to you. Look at here. So the recommendation, this is actually, you can put it in your project. So one of these project that I have worked for, you can put it in your resume, in your interview also, you can explain the architecture is here, the sample data is here, the case study file is here, the code is also here. I'm going to explain this code in the classes. We are going to tackle this code. So that is how we are going to see the real time things only, guys. So whenever I get some kind of a requirement from some job or something, so I'm going to putting that as a case study. I'm going to put it here. When I'm telling some case study, that means it's a real world problem that I came across. I'm putting it as a case study to you, so that you can understand it and you can utilize this, so that you can understand the real world how the problems will be. Okay, so that is how it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So I have one more class to take, and we will see a few more things tomorrow, guys. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Tomorrow is also one more interesting topic. Actually, if you are available, you guys please join. Tomorrow is a very interesting session. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you all. Have a great day.